our good friends at Angel Studios. I love Angel Studios. Amazing new film this Holy Week. Phenomenal. In fact,
as I think about Charlie's life and how much of a support he was of Angel, it's hard not to feel so grateful for what he did. He supported us in our darkest days and in our brightest hours as a company. Man, are we grateful to have gotten to be a little connection in the multitude of connections that he made throughout his life, because it was so impactful to us. Thank you, Charlie. Love you. We miss you. We're going to continue to drive forward the good news.
Tyler Robinson, he is in court today. He's had digital hearings before. This in-person one in court. We'll be honest, it's not a very big one in the grand scheme of things. Other than that, it's an early one. This is not about, it's not the trial itself. It's not about evidence related to the trial. It's not jury selection, any of those things. It is a pre-trial hearing to review case status. The most important thing about it, they're discussing whether to have cameras in the courtroom. We, of course, strongly support having cameras in the courtroom. Erica has endorsed having cameras in the courtroom. Robinson's lawyers have argued there should not be, that it would. They literally have a line in here. They've warned it would create a content tornado around the case. It is high profile, and they say this would damage the jury pool. That's their argument. The notable thing about it, he will be allowed to appear in street clothes rather than a prison uniform. He is going to be restrained. Shackled, but it has to be sort of light shackles, and they're not allowed, the press is not allowed to photograph him where those are visible. So he'll be restrained, but you're not allowed to see him be restrained.
And so apparently the rationale for this is, in the United States, you are innocent until proven guilty, right? The burden of proof lies on the state to make their case. And so but there's also some like legal 3D chess going on here, right? Because the defense, if he comes out in an orange jumpsuit and he's shackled and he sort of presents as guilty, right, visually, then the defense on appeal could argue any conviction would have to be then thrown out because he biased the jury.
There's endless layers. You can have endless appeals on everything, and the strategy that goes into that. Yeah, do you want him to look different because that will bias the jury one way, bias them the other way? The restraints, they can make any number of motions on this.
Yeah, and apparently the rationale for having him restrained is that, if you look at the charging documents, which again, I recommend everybody just Google it, Tyler Robinson, charging documents, they come right up. And, there is a point at which his parents call Tyler Robinson and say, that looks like you. The footage that we see, that looks like you. Did you do it or whatever? He confesses to them that, and then he says something about Charlie having too much hate and you can't negotiate the hate out or whatever at that point. And then he apparently tells his parents that he's going to take his own life.
Yeah, so they're doing this. The charges against him are capital charges. They can carry the death penalty. Prosecutors have said they're planning to seek it. And so we have a history of people who are facing severe charges. They can attempt to escape using violence. They can attempt to harm themselves. And so that's the purpose of restraints.
Yeah, the point is, so he's indicated at least at some level thoughts of suicide. And what I was told was that even a pen could be used as a potential weapon, right? So that's why they want to keep him shackled, even if it's light shackled, out of camera view, assuming he puts his hands underneath the table or something so you can't see it. But so today is going to be all about media access, and there is going to be a portion of the proceeding that is not public, and apparently that's going to be about security issues. Obviously, that makes sense. High-profile case, they want to make sure that the venue's secure and safe, and they probably don't want to share that information with the public about ingress, egress, how they're going to be approaching the security of the actual venue in which the trial is heard. So I was told, don't expect it to be super substantive. Street clothes, lightly shackled. He will not speak. He will acknowledge his presence, but that's probably all we're going to hear from Tyler Robinson. So, can you acknowledge that you are the person that we have in this courtroom? He'll say yes, essentially.
Pretty much.
That'll be it.
Reading through the details on this, you realize just how exceptional this case actually is, because it is one of the things that's pointed out. This is the first high-profile criminal case that has occurred in the artificial intelligence era. So I'm reading one of the reports here. Attorney Kathy Nestor, one of his attorneys, I believe, she's pointed out there are already digitally altered versions of Robinson's, his court photos, like the photos that we've actually seen of him in custody. So people have created versions where he has an outburst or where he begins crying. So they've, used AI to create video where there isn't one.
Yeah.
And we've had that, of course, with the shooting itself. It's going to be, you can somewhat sympathize with them pointing out that this is going to be a totally unprecedented thing. And you have to appreciate that this is what's the reality is going to be going forward for every criminal case. For every criminal case imaginable, you're going to have people AI altering videos or creating them from whole cloth. Mm-hmm. That's a real thing. If they don't allow cameras in the courtroom, we may well have people saying this is an undercover video that was taken at the trial and it's entirely generated with AI. This is getting way beyond the case, but I'm really shuddering for the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, Glenn alluded to it. The craziness that we've had to endure is next level. I mean, obviously, you're sort of realizing that this is the high-profile nature of what happened, Charlie's fame. We knew it was going to be huge, but I don't think anybody knew that it was going to take as many turns as it already has. To Glenn's point, it's 3 months in. And yeah, we have this first procedural court hearing today. It's not going to be much, but even this, who knows how it's going to be spun?
Who knows how it'll be spun? It does. Another thing, we should have a prosecutor from Utah
We're gonna get
on and
one.
talk about this, just because I do think we've talked about the theories that are spinning around. I do think a lot of that is produced by, there's a lot of psychic energy around this, as it were. People think about this case a lot. It affected a lot of people.
You don't mean that in sort of a
not
woo-woo
literal,
way.
not literal mind powers.
You
but
just mean
people,
there's a pent up passion.
There's pent up passion for it, and this could get released if people were able to see a trial unfolding.
Yes.
While they're all thinking about this, that they could say, okay, here is the defendant, here is the evidence, here is the jury selection, here is the trial, here is the verdict, and if it happened in a timely way, which our Constitution guarantees the right to a speedy trial. And if you look historically, high-profile criminal cases have happened quickly within the past 100 years, where they're able to put people on trial in a reasonable length of time. But now it's this combination of everything in the court system has slowed down, but everything in the media ecosystem has sped up.
Yeah.
So in the day of nightly news and no online, the O.J. Simpson trial could go on for a year and people wouldn't totally lose their minds. But imagine if the O.J. Simpson trial was happening today, but there was this year-long delay after this giant, spectacular car chase and then actually having a serious trial go on.
And imagine if there was AI.
And AI.
Imagine if there was, all the elements of this really do amount to an explosive media circus. The media tornado thing totally is legitimate. But to Erica's point, which she said with Jesse Waters, everything that we've done has been hyper scrutinized and hyper analyzed. Yes. Every smile, every comment, everything's so analyzed. And we deserve to see this trial play out before the media. We get to see I want to see the evidence, presented in a factual, straightforward way. I want almost the American people to be educated in the civics of it.
Because it is so easy for these AI generated things to happen, and because there are so many alternative outlets for just generating wild stuff, that content tornado exists regardless.
Yes.
It is actually, in that case, genuinely important to have the real thing out there existing. And will people try to manipulate it? Yes, inevitably. But it does have to exist, because if you have no real thing to compete against it,
1,000%,
it's gonna be a calamity.
Well, and I want to compare what we're doing today in the Tyler Robinson trial versus what's going on with Mangione. So Mangione is doing.
This case also taking forever.
Yeah, this is also taking forever. He's having a probable cause hearing in New York City, and that's actually where you start to hear stuff, new information, right? So Mangione they're presenting new body cam footage. The defense is saying that some of that evidence was seized illegally, that they didn't have a warrant. So you're starting to see actually the chess moves by the defense and by the prosecution in that case, because they're at a further juncture at that trial, right? So we're not there yet, but when we get to an evidentiary hearing, a probable cause hearing, which is a step in the process that says, is there enough evidence to take this to a full trial, right? I think in Mangione's case, of course, it's going to go to a full trial. In Tyler Robinson's case, of course, it's going to go to a full trial, but that's technically what that step is for. And that's when you'll find out, is there enough evidence to proceed? Obviously, there is. So don't expect that today. But I think I could share your frustration, Blake, in a massive way, especially being on this end of it, where you are a victim of this circumstance, this terrible tragedy, where our friend was murdered in cold blood, and there's this vacuum of time, right, of where people want answers to certain questions. You can only get those answers in a trial, and yet we have to wait here. We're probably looking at March, April for this, right? And it's like, if you're on this end of it,
they can drag that out.
Yeah, and they could find ways to drag that out, and then you're probably looking into 2027 for an actual trial. That's what we're staring down right now. I know, and if you read the charging documents, I mean they've got this kid so the case is so watertight. Again, there's fair questions to ask around it. There really are. And I'm trying to be as gracious and generous as I can to that. I have questions. We've chased down every lead we can possibly imagine, that you can imagine. I mean, people send us stuff all the time, and we're always sending those along to the authorities. But man, this case is very strong, very watertight.